I hope everybody's doing well today, and I want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to talk to me a little bit about some of our things we're going to talk about. So, we're going to jump into what's called handling objections. This is series 3. First, I want to have a quick conversation with you guys. Do you guys see the world of sales changing in today's environment? If so, guess what? You're not alone. The truth is, selling has transformed dramatically over the past few years, and even more in the past few months, as we know. Customers are navigating through their businesses. Now they're calling it their new normal. And with that, objections are at a very high level. Today, we're going to take a look into some sales techniques around how you, through your sales process, can handle objections early in a conversation and hopefully prevent them from happening totally. So we're going to get into that. It's going to be really cool. So the sales team and I, we did some research. A Harvard University study was done with top performing salespeople to get powerful insight in today's selling environment, how it's changing, what it means for you, dealing with customers remotely and in the field. A rapidly changing sales environment includes technology as well as strong relationships with the decision makers. This requires us to have some polished skills and have an accommodating approach. Trying to move a deal through to the close, guys, it can be tough. I know, I've been there. And one of the hardest parts within that is learning how to handle and overcome objections. We as salespeople, we typically see objections in a negative light. But the reality is, objections are just a reflection of where our sales process led the customer, okay? As salespeople, we need to direct the customer down a calculated path that reveals objections early in the sales process. So objections don't become this brick wall that comes crashing down and prevents them from doing business with us right now. All salespeople, including myself, understand that it's not always going to work out that way. But top performers, when they find themselves in the situation dealing with objections, they view it in a good light because the prospect's giving them a map or a clue on how to make the sale happen, assuming they can overcome the objection, of course. Let's take a look at the key objectives for today's training. So, we're going to start off with handling objections through process. Within that, we're going to talk about developing a sales process, determining what works best for you, building relationships, closing throughout your meeting process. I love that one. You guys are going to love that one too. Then we're going to jump into referrals. And then the second part of the training is going to be all about handling most common objections. Now, I only have you guys for 30 minutes, so I chose 3 to talk about today. Price, not a good time, and you're not in front of the correct decision maker. And then the third part of the training will be some words from me on continued self-development and staying positive. There's also going to be a resource guide available for you guys at the end of the training. You're going to receive it within about an hour after the training. It's awesome. It's a very, very interactive resource guide. You'll see what I mean when you get it, and you're going to really think it's worthwhile. All right, let's jump into developing a sales process. Okay, so in order for you to overcome objections, the first thing you need is to have a process in place. And it's going to allow you to navigate through some of the objections and actually increase your odds of closing the deal right now. Let me explain. In today's environment, top salespeople have adapted to this remote process. You guys have done it, right? But you have to keep in mind that the same principles apply when you're in the field, at a job site, at an office. And because of this adaptation, top salespeople earn more than average salespeople, yet seldom work as long or as hard. Why do you think that is? I'm going to tell you. They utilize a consistent sales process, whether remotely or face-to-face, with all their prospects and customers. Most of them print out their sales process so they don't have to memorize anything. That way they can focus all their attention on the prospects rather than thinking about their next question or what's the next step of the process going to be. It's right in front of them. So a good tip to remember, here comes a tip from me. Always have a notepad along with your printed out process to follow step by step with you in every single meeting. Now, a lot of you have been doing this for a while, and I know some of this might sound a little elementary, but I promise you, you gotta sometimes press the reset button and see what kind of results you can get from that. Most salespeople don't utilize a consistently effective sales process. Therefore, each sales opportunity is handled differently based on what they're comfortable doing, maybe their experience, maybe how they feel that day. The results can be hit or miss. Now, with that being said, let's talk a little bit about determining what works best for you, because everyone has a different selling style. Top reps consistently do what has the highest probability of producing high closing rates. Makes sense, right? So it becomes a good, repeatable habit. You have to compile all those positive interactions and weed out what did and what didn't work. Once you do that, you can put together a process that works for you and execute it every single time. The only difference each time should be catering to the specific needs of the customer and knowing your chain of planned events that follow in your process. In time, you'll condition yourself to do it the same way and have more positive results. Guys, think about that for a second. If you take all the stuff that you've done in the past, all the positive interactions, and you put together something that works for you, and execute it every single day, guys, the results are going to be positive from each time you do it. You're just going to have to cater to the customer differently, that's all. Top salespeople, guys, they're fluid. They can pivot their sales process during a meeting while still maintaining structure in order to increase the odds of a sale happening right now. It all starts off with getting lots of people on the phone, which you guys are awesome at doing, and getting in front of enough people, which you're also awesome at doing, to perfect your process. But you have to have a process in place to perfect it, right? So let's do a quick poll. In the chat box, bottom right-hand portion of your screen, you guys can communicate me with the chat box. What I'd like you to respond to me with is the amount of people you go after each week. How many new prospects are you going after on a weekly basis? Now, this number is going to represent new customers. It's going to represent existing customers that do business with United Rentals already, just not with you. So how many are you going after each week? Let me know. Let me see some results in the chat box there. Tell me what you guys have. Okay, 125. Okay, what else we got? I got 80, on the call right now, so I want a lot more than one answer. How many prospects are you going after each week? Come on, there's a little lag time, I know, but I'll wait for another minute because I want to hear what you guys have to say. How many prospects are you going after? 50-ish. Thanks, Frank. 50, 75, good. Okay, 40, now they're coming through. Okay, awesome. 50, 75, 50, 50, 75, 50. Okay, great. All right, I want to give you guys an interesting fact. In the past year, 15% of salespeople reached out to only 1,000 new prospects. That's okay, right? If you break that down, that's 4 new opportunities per day. Imagine if you can get a chance to meet or remotely talk to 4 new customers, new to you customers per day. Now again, they might be already doing business with United Rentals, they're maybe with another business unit, but if you get a chance to talk to 4 a day, that's lots of great practice to really get good at closing business. But only 15% of you are doing that. Top salespeople are not spending time searching for customers. I know that sounds crazy after what I just said, but hear me out. Top salespeople are spending their time either remotely or in front of customers. When you get really good at the phone process, you're less likely to spend a tremendous amount of time on the phone and more time having progressive conversations with your customers. Spending more time with customers, guys, keeps your funnel full. So when you don't make a sale, it's less damaging to our mindset because you know there's more where that came from. It keeps you less hungry when interacting with your prospects. And I have a lot of veterans on the call today, and I'll tell you this, you guys know that our customers can smell hunger on our breath. So keep that in mind. The key is get really good at your phone process. So you know, using a mapped out talk track like we talked about in previous trainings, and fill that schedule with productive scheduled meetings, okay? So you figured out how to constantly have a robust schedule by having productive phone time. Now it's time to start a meeting with a customer. So let's talk about building relationships because this is really important, remember? At this point, many salespeople think at the beginning stage of the conversation, rapport building is the most important thing. It could be the case, don't get me wrong, but it depends on your audience, guys. Think about the decision makers you've dealt with in the past. If they've been in their jobs or in their positions for long periods of time, they might not want to talk shop right away, right? They deal with a million salespeople, they know the deal, they're more relaxed. But in today's world, they're finding that some more fast-paced, newer decision makers might just want to get down to business. So I trust that you guys have a sales instinct for that. You're going to need to trust that yourself. Most salespeople attempt to build rapport first. However, what they're really trying to do is get the prospect to like them, which is not the most effective process in the very beginning when meeting or talking to someone for the first time. Most prospects are far more concerned about whether they can trust you or respect you. Therefore, you must learn how to immediately develop that kind of relationship. Building rapport is important, guys, but at the correct time. You have to build trust, and trust comes from listening, providing solutions, and bringing business expertise to their problems. Listen to this fact. Mutual trust and mutual respect are two of the most important buying decision factors for over 80% of the prospects. That's good for you to know. After you do that, guys, building rapport becomes genuine. They're more receptive to it, to talk about that fun stuff that builds relationships, like football, golf, whatever you guys talk about to build relationships. But after that, that's where long-term valuable business come from, okay? All right, next, closing throughout your meeting. I love this one, guys. All right, what's your plan? You're sitting down in front of the customer, and what is your plan? I want you to think about that for a second. What were some of the positive interactions you had, and what were some of the negative interactions you had? And most importantly, did you learn from them? Because when we learn from the good and bad, we condition ourselves to use the better interactions, and now we can build and execute a plan that works. Are we starting our conversation where we're sitting down, put our arm in a chair, and say, "Hey, Mr. Customer, how's biz?" Or are we sitting down? Are we laying out an agenda for the meeting? Are we saying, "Mr. Customer, this is what I'd like to get covered today. I want to make sure everyone's here that makes the decisions. And at the end of this conversation, Mr. Customer, I'm going to ask for your business." Okay? I recommend starting with an agenda. We need to determine lots of information through our opening agenda. Most salespeople neglect to determine the exact buying intentions of their prospects, including financial capacity. Can they spend money right now? When can the purchase occur? Are they willing to do business today, or do they have to do business today? And who makes the final decisions? Are we in front of the correct person, okay? Therefore, these important points could be the brick wall that comes crashing down when it's time to do business at the end of the meeting. Lay it all out in your meeting opener. Set the agenda. Set the expectation for the meeting. Bring up the important items right in the beginning of the conversation so we get rid of them right away. Top salespeople eliminate most or all objections with their sales opening statement and well-executed process. Now, if there's any roadblocks, you can handle them right in the beginning. For example, let's say you're not meeting with the decision maker and you found that out through your great opening statement. You find out that the guy's right down the hall or the girl's right down the hall. Well, let's go get him. Let's bring him into the meeting. He's here. You're here. It's time for business. So, think about it. How many times have you guys had a meeting conversation at the end of the meeting? The customer says, "You know what, Joe, this was all great information. And you and your services, you look like a great fit for us, but I really need to get all this in front of John. He's my purchasing agent." Boom, brick wall comes down. Wait, what? Why didn't I know that golden nugget of information? Because I didn't ask early enough in the meeting, and I don't have a practiced plan that I execute every single time to make sure I'm handling those objections early. Guys, this happens a lot, but it can be prevented by asking a simple statement in your opener. You just have to ask a statement like, "Mr. Customer, I'd like to involve anyone else in today's meeting that might be a part of the decision-making process." It's as simple as that. Guys, I put together a couple of videos. I had one of my great salespeople out of New York put together a couple of videos for you. Guys, they're a little robotic for this, but I'm landing the plane with it. Understand that, yes, it's going to be a little bit robotic. You have to make these your own, but this will help you understand what we're trying to convey with an opening statement. Lori's going to run these videos for you. Boom, right? Oh, the volume, it looks like someone didn't hear it. Okay, guys, make sure your volume is up on your computer or phones to hear it. That one's sound quality was a little rough. Here comes one on the job site meeting. Let's take a look. Let's hear this one.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for
Guys, the goal of an opening statement is to let a customer be aware what you're there to do today and ask for their business at the end and basically take control of the meeting. Okay, I'm sorry. It looks like Bob didn't have any volume on that end. Bob, these examples of these will be in the resource guide for you, so hang in there, buddy. I'm sorry you didn't get to hear them. All right, so now, right after your opening statement, what do? We start asking great questions that engage the prospect. We reveal a pain. We position a value prop. Now, most salespeople tend to close at the end of the process. Guys, it's how we've been trained over the years, where at the end of your meeting, you try to close the deal. Top salespeople start closing in the beginning of their sales process and continue to close throughout their whole conversation by using what's called conditional commitments. Write that down, guys. This is a good one. Conditional commitments. Let me explain. Guys, this one is a golden nugget in this training, so ears up on this one. A conditional commitment engages the customer and closes the doors of objections to ensure that they understand and they agree throughout the meeting process. So the sum of all these commitments, they add up at the end to a relaxed, no pressure close. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. Now, you're in a meeting with the customer, you just explained a great value prop. Mr. Customer, does this all make sense so far? And the customer goes, yeah, it all makes great sense. Wow, awesome. And his head's going like this, right? The next one, Mr. Customer, do you see this helping you with the issue we just discussed? Do you see a benefit? Oh yeah, wow, I had no idea you guys had that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's something my current vendor doesn't have. Really cool. Next one, Mr. Customer, if by using the workplace app I just reviewed with you, would this fix that issue that we just talked about? Could you see yourself doing business with me today? And the customer goes, yeah, wow, I had no idea. This is great stuff. Joe, sign me up, right? And all these questions, they're being sprinkled throughout the conversation, not all at once, obviously, but every little bit throughout the conversation, you ask a question like this. Most salespeople fail to get conditional commitments to do business throughout their sales process. Therefore, they waste a lot of time with prospects that have zero intention of buying today or even in the future, and make it easy for the customer to put up the brick wall of objections, and that's it, and then they don't do business with you. If you get the customer's head nodding yes throughout the whole meeting, guess what it's very hard for their head to do at the end? No, right? Keep that in mind. Now, you wrote a deal, or you didn't write a deal, and that's okay. Just set up some solid next steps and set up a future communication cadence and keep going, bottom line, right? Because remember, you have a packed schedule of meetings with lots of customers set up. Now, whether or not you close a deal, you all know this answer. Whether or not you close a deal, what is it very important to do at the end of every single meeting? What do you ask for at the end of every single meeting? Boom, referrals, okay? Now, keep in mind, guys, referrals are not only external. They can also be internal, meaning other departments, accounts payable, anyone you can get in front of to do business. The majority of salespeople are barely asking for referrals. It's shocking. Let me do a quick number play with you. If you can't see this, it's fine. It's on your screen. 18.6%, 47%, and 50 to 70%. Let me give you those numbers. Only 18.6% of salespeople ask customers they interact with every day for a referral. That's crazy to me, right? While 47% of top performers are asking every day with every single person they're in front of. That's why they're a top performer. Referral-based sales, listen to this, referral-based sales usually closes at 50 to 70%, sometimes even higher. Guys, if I'm gonna get up and work 10 hours a day and get in front of 15 people and try to sell them the business, I wanna make sure a large percentage of them are gonna close at 50 to 70%, because that's good for me and good for our business. Non-top performers, listen to this, non-top performers report, they admit to it. They barely or never ask for a referral. Guys, remember, you have to ask for referrals, all right? Let's move on to the second part of the training. All right. Second part of the training is how to handle the top most common objections. Okay, give me a poll again real quick. Right in the bottom portion of your screen where you guys commented before, what are some of the objections you're hearing today in the field? What's stopping our customers from doing business with us? What are the objections you're hearing? Let's see what you guys can tell me here. I'll wait. Let's see what we got. COVID. Yep, of course, COVID. Yep. Don't rent equipment. Price is too high. COVID budget cuts. Equipment too old. Waiting to see what COVID's going to do. Rate too high. Quality of equipment. Wow, I love your interaction. Thanks, guys. Price. I see price. Election year. Yes, there are so many objections you guys deal with every single day, okay? Most objections can be handled with having a solid process in place. I know that sounds like everyone's like, come on, Joe. But seriously, it can be handled with having a solid process in place. Remember what we talked about today. You have to get all your positive interactions and compile them in your everyday process. This technique also works with your negative interactions. So if you have a negative interaction with a customer, try to avoid the way you dealt with that customer, and that will prevent bad habits. Knowing what doesn't work is as important as what does work. You can use your past experiences to navigate your future success. Lori's gonna laugh right now, but I'm gonna tell you all, write it down. You can use your past experiences to navigate your future success. That's the key to this whole training. We need to understand first, though, that the key to overcoming the objection is not actually overcoming them. It's preventing them from happening in the first place. Because let's face it, once the objection happened, guys, it's an indicator you're already in trouble. So I want to go through some of the objections we deal with every day and show you how to actually prevent them from happening in the first place. So let's dig in. Number one, price. Okay. This is so common amongst all salespeople, okay? We hear this one all the time. What it means, and hear me on this, and I'm gonna get some eye rolling on this, and I'm gonna get a lot of people that don't understand it, but I want you to hear me out on this. What it means is we haven't shown enough value in the sales process to justify the price you're presenting, period. Think about it for a second. You're creating are you creating value in the conversation leading up to that statement where they say, God, the price is too high? I have salespeople call me all the time and say, Joe, what do I do? The customer said the price is too high. Joe, help, right? Every single person that calls me, my question is always and will always be, are you solving a challenge that's important enough for the customer to pay the price? Do they see a value? Team, I'm gonna give you a quick example real quick. Think about this. You guys are on the couch with your husband, your wife, and your wife or your husband says, hey, hon, we need a gallon of milk. You know there's a convenience store 2 blocks away from your house, but you know the milk is $1.50 more at the convenience store than the food store 4 miles away. Now, you have to get in your car, drive 4 miles to go to the food store, right? You got to find a parking spot when you get there, right? Then you know you got to walk into the food store, and everyone knows where the milk's kept, all the way in the back of the food store. You walk all the way back there, you pick up 10 things you didn't need, you open up the refrigerator, you grab your milk. You turn around, you walk all the way to the front of the store, get online, pay for your milk. Walk back out to the parking lot, look around because you have no idea where you parked your car. You get in your car, you drive 4 miles home, all to save $1.50. Now, some of you might do that, and that's okay. But the majority of people today will pay the $1.50 more for the value of not going through all that, just to save the $1.50. Now, they see a value of going to the convenience store that's 2 blocks away. So what I'm really trying to land the plane with here is, are we, throughout our process leading up to the price reveal, showing real value? Are we asking questions? Are we responding properly and bringing the pain to life in their head to really help them understand that if they were able to solve the challenge, and you got to walk them through it, just like I just did with you guys. You were all in the store with me a minute ago grabbing milk. You guys saw my story in your head. You have to do that with your customer and what it would mean to them. If they had to pay more to do business with you because the value you bring, you have to try to be that convenience store. Help them understand the real cost of the challenge that they're dealing with. Materializing it on a notepad. Remember I said, have a notepad with you. Use a whiteboard if there's one available. It's gonna tremendously help them visualize and justify the price that you're offering. Guys, there's no magic number to the statement your price is too high. We have to try to understand, though, what led up to that statement, or even more importantly, what didn't lead up to that statement, and try to prevent this objection from totally coming up in future conversations. Remember, the more you focus on the value of your product or service, the less important price becomes, okay? All right, next. So maybe we've heard this one. Not a good time. When you hear this, guys, you pretty much know that the customer's struggling with changing their status quo. They're used to doing business a certain way. They're resisting change, even if it's costing them a non-apparent amount of money. If you hear this towards the end of your sales process, this means we haven't done a good job associating a number value to the pain. A lot of you guys are going, wait, what do you mean number value? You have to help them understand the urgency of making the change now by implementing your solution and what it means to them, and it's going to sometimes nudge them a little bit out of their status quo. You want to clarify how important it is timing-wise to get the problem solved. Write the dollar amount on a piece of paper. Here, let me show you. Some of you have been in my classes. Here, you're in a meeting with a customer and you find out that they have 5 guys on a job site. Mr. Customer, 5 guys on that job site that we're talking about right now. And I know in this area, prevailing wage is about $50 an hour. And you said 5 hours of downtime. Wow. Mr. Customer, if you have 5 guys at $50 an hour, that's $250 an hour. At 5 hours of downtime is $1,250. And you said, Mr. Customer, that happened 3 times last month. Mr. Customer, that's $3,750 that you're spending on downtime by using your current provider, right? Guys, it's going to prompt the customer to be engaged and listen and maybe be more willing to make a change as soon as possible. Now, after all that, they say, you know what, Joe, call me back. If a customer tells you call you back, it means we haven't seen enough value to discuss further and make a change now. That's it. We have to hook them with the dollar figure like I just did, because you're going to have more of a chance of hooking them if you show them what they're spending needlessly and what it means to them before they get a chance to say this to you. Now, this technique I'm going to share with you guys right now, it's a little gutsy, okay? But it's still going to come off as professional. So if they say to you, Joe, you know what, call me back next month, I want you to respond with, you know what, Mr. Customer, I really appreciate you asking me that. I've heard this a few times in the past, and I found that when someone says this to me, it's just a nice way of them saying they really just don't see value in what I've presented and don't want to move forward with me. Is that what you would say is happening here, Mr. Customer? Boom, right? And then that's gonna take them in 2 different directions. They're either gonna go in one direction or the other. They're either gonna say, yeah, you know what, Joe, this really isn't something I'm interested in talking about today. Then as a salesperson, you have to go in your tool bag and pull out something else to talk to them about. You'll figure that out. But it's okay, because remember, you're not gonna close every single customer. In fact, here's a statistic for you. Did you know that 50% or fewer of the people you get in front of are not a good fit for us as a customer? So keep that in mind. That's important for you to know. Don't be beating yourself up if you can't close someone specifically. Make sure you're trying, but don't beat yourself up. Or now, here's the other way the customer goes. The customer says, no, it's really just not a good time because of this, or this. Now, when you did a great job. He's saying, no, it's a good time. I really want to talk about this stuff. You now have to nail down a good time to have a good next conversation with them. But now you know. And you could prioritize that customer as a hot lead and set them up for future communication, like a next meeting, a good email, or just whatever it is to stay front of mind with that customer because it really just wasn't a good time at that moment. It's okay. All right, last one. You're not in front of the right person. Okay, guys, keep this in mind. If you hear this statement at the end of your meeting, it is our mistake, okay? Because we should know this before we're ever presenting our solutions. Remember, we talked about it in the beginning, having a great opening statement to flush this out. We should know that they're planning to run this by some other people before we ever get into our presentation. It's a simple miss on our part because we didn't dig in on the decision-making process and flush this out in the opening to the meeting. Remember, the question is not, are you the decision maker? We're past that, right? That's an annoying question, and people become very defensive on that one. Instead, you want to be doing it simply bringing it up in the beginning of your meeting in a professional manner by including a statement like we talked about before in your opener. Just like something like, hey, I'd like to understand your decision-making process for this type of decision and meet all the people involved. Something simple just like that. Remember, this is going to plant the seed in the very beginning of the meeting and let the customer be aware that you're there today to meet with them, to present solutions that they need to make a decision on, and all decision makers must be here. Why shouldn't we feel that way walking into a customer? You're there, they're there, let's make a decision today. Now, if you find out other people have to be involved, because it happens still, right? People sometimes can say, oh yeah, I'm the decision maker, and at the end they're like, well, I'm not the decision maker. Let's ask them if they are available to attend the meeting now. Like I said before, maybe they're down the hall, maybe we can get them on a WebEx. So you're not just presenting to one person and they can't throw the brick wall up at the end and say, hey Joe, this is all great stuff, but I gotta run it by some other people and you didn't know that was coming. All right, team, This could be a game changer in your success. You will rarely hear this objection in the future from here on in if you do a good job with your opening in the meeting. If you still find yourself in this situation, like I said before, because someone will maybe lie, I don't want to say customers lie, but because they don't, right? Make sure clear steps are in place. Let's take a look at what that might sound like. So if they say, hey, if they say, I need to run this by some other people, let's say this to them, Mr. Customer, I understand you have to run this by some other folks. Would it make sense to set up another meeting where we could put all of our heads together and I can share my ideas with everyone? Because remember, guys, no one can present our products and services like you. No one. You want to be the one presenting that product or service to other people and be in control of the content they receive. All right, makes sense? All right. All right, so that's handling some of the most common objections. Let me close out the meeting. Guys, the old saying, practice makes perfect, so true. There are so many sales techniques. You guys can listen to 25 different WebExes. You can listen to different techniques. You could go on YouTube. You can watch a million different things. Keep in mind though, highest paid salespeople are using those techniques every single day. It's up to you. You have the choice to do that, to go out and kill it every day. The regular application of the things that we talked about today are guaranteed to help move your sales in a higher level, and it's definitely going to help you reduce objections. Get serious. Make a decision today to join the top % of our company. You should go for that because you deserve it. When it comes to sales, guys, or really anything in life, there's nothing that can hold you back from being the best but yourself, okay? Ask yourself, what one skill out of all the things Joe's talked about today, if I developed and did it consistently every single day in an excellent fashion, would have the greatest positive impact in my sales? Then you got to go do it every day. Whatever your answer is to that question, write it down, set a deadline, make a plan, and work on it every day. If you need help, call me. I want to help you with it, and I'm available for you anytime. Get around positive people and successful people. Get away from negative, naysaying, critical people. Remember, there's going to be challenges in any job you have or anything that we do most of the time in life. It's how you handle them that defines you. And as salespeople, if we handle them incorrectly, we can lose money. So handle them correctly and it will define you as a great salesperson. Visualize yourself performing your best every single day. Last thing I'm going to say. Remember, salespeople are among the most important people in America. Okay? Every single company depends on its survival on the success of salespeople. High sales is the #1 reason for companies to go out of business. High sales is the #1 reason for companies to be successful and you have successful paychecks. Low sales is the #1 reason why companies go out of business and you don't make any money. So guys, go kill it. If you have any questions, I'm going to stay on this for another minute or so if anybody has any live questions they want to ask me. But my name's Joe Marchese. You have Bill Dwyer, you have Lori Hauser, you have Gina Rollins. We're all here for you. Reach out if you need anything. We're all here. Go get them and go kill them.